Education updates on independent television. I'm your regular guest on this program. Uh, Today we shall be having an overview of the education sector with the Academic Staff Union of Universities having gone on industrial action for over 50 months in 23 years, amounting to about 5 years period of industrial action, and with the latest figure of over 17 million out of school children in the country. And then with the crisis in Sudan, we have a situation where, as it is today, over 5,000 students have been evacuated from that crisis-ridden region of Sudan. And this says a lot about our educational sector. This paints a clear picture where in faraway Sudan we have not less than over 5 students, registered students, in a country like that. And then we know of our neighboring countries like Ghana, Sierra Leone, how many more of our students are there. And this was not so in the past. But here we have a situation in our hands. And we are not talking about the brain drain. When you talk about doctors and all that, we shall be looking at that and see how we are at the point of a new administration, how we can set agenda as this administration comes and see whether we'll be able to nip some of the issues in the bud. We'll go on a short break. When we come, I'm going to come back. I'm going to introduce my guest. She's a lecturer in one of the polytechnics in Kogi State particularly. And then she is vast in issues of education. And when we come back, I will introduce her and the show will begin. Joining us is still education updates on independent television. And of course, before we went on that short break, I gave you statistics of, just a little tip of the iceberg, what the education sector looks like. And I have a guest here. We'll be generally discussing how we can set agenda for this coming education, and she is no other but Engineer Deborah Ojediran. She is the former HOD of Civil Engineering Department, Kogi State Polytechnic, and the VP National Institute for Structural Engineering. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, she is one woman, you agree with me, that is treading a path that is not common to men. When you talk about engineering and mathematics, in the days past, especially if you are a language student, like you don't even talk about mathematics at all. Maybe I should start with what's responsible for your going into mathematics and engineering?
Okay. Basically, it wasn't something I chose from the beginning. But along the line, because I didn't want to study medicine or pharmacy, which my dad wanted me to study, I had to pick another option. And then the other option that was available for me was engineering. And then because I loved to draw then, so I asked around, which will I fit into? And then what was suggested to me was either architecture or civil engineering. So I chose civil engineering. And that was how I went into engineering. But I knew I wanted to do sciences.
All right, the difficulty in mathematics, is it a myth or reality? Is it something that is just perceived and not real?
Well, difficulty is relative. I'll call it a myth because for me, I'd rather do mathematics than do biology, for instance. So it's a thing of the heart. When it goes into your head that I cannot do this thing, and then your body begins to tell the other parts that yes, you can't do it. So it's a thing of the mind. If you put your mind to it, mathematics is actually the easiest subject.
But it's not a road often traveled by women.
Well, just
there
like
are courses, and discipline that it's like feminine.
Yes.
But when you think of engineering and mathematics, people would rather, leave it to say it's a man's thing.
Well, again, it's the culture. It's the culture and the foundation. I had my father was an accountant, an economist, so I had that foundation. He would do figures and then I would just look over his shoulders, and my mom was very sound with mathematics. So this thing has to do with the parents, the foundation. Once you build a foundation for your child, they just grow up with it. And then once you let them know that there's no limit to what you can do with your brains, just think it, love it, and then you'll be able to do it.
All right. Earlier, in the program, I began with the number of times the academic staff union of universities have gone on strike. And it spanned over 50 months, going to like 5 years, of industrial action. And also, I was looking at the latest statistics of the number of out-of-school children in the country. And with the crisis in Sudan, as it is already, we have evacuated over 5,000 students. So does it paint a picture of where we are in the education sector?
Well, whatever you think or you put your mind to do, whatever is paramount in your mind, that's where you put your focus on. If we have people, a crop of leaders who feel that education is going to liberate us in the country, then they're going to put more into education. Go to other climes, you see that the early years, even up to the college, the education is free. Okay, and then we're not saying that you make the tertiary education free, but at least the basic one, you can just make it free. We have the resources in this country. And then the beautiful thing about education is that it builds a child's mind to want to be creative. Because when you begin to put ideas into their head, they see beyond just what they are reading. And the day we come up and wake up to know that whatever we put into these children, we grow our country. We come in turn to grow our country. That day is the day of our deliverance, I tell you.
Yes, talking about the day of our deliverance, I actually wanted to, maybe you paint a picture of, what state we are in the education sector with just a little of these issues that I have been able to, bring up the staff by academic union of universities and even polytechnics, and the number of out-of-school children, brain drain and all that. What does it say of our education sector?
Well, our education sector is, I can't call it comatose, because there is a lot going on. It's just that the implementation is poor. You see ideas, you see proposals, but at the point of implementation, we miss it. Look at the lecturers in the university. Give them good pay. Allow them to open up to research. Give them research grants, good ones. Allow them to even mingle with their peers abroad. Bring ideas into the country. Generate programs that will push our lecturers to want to do more. We have people who are just laid back, because even when you get more certifications or you get more knowledge in this, there is no system that rewards you, really. Instead, you put up a system for other civil servants and you put teachers at par with them. They are not at par. They are the foundation. You should categorize your workers in this country. Prioritize some. And then, of course, you can have the regular workers, maybe because they run the system just nominally. But there are some people that are the foundation. That foundation is very critical. And then you should invest in it so that you can keep them here. Some of them are leaving the country already. I have friends who have left the country, because the attraction over there, I got a job as a research assistant. I just didn't go. And then, so you see this attraction,
Exactly.
and then...
You know, that was where I wanted to go to when, you know, what's the motivation? You know, there was one time they talked about Millennium Bug and all that, you know, and it seems as if our lecturers, you know, have been beaten by, they are materialistic. They want more money. You know, should it be passion? Or is the, because once upon a time, lecturers don't ride on SUVs, you know, but you see them today, they want the best cars, live in the best houses, you know, and it's more like no education without finance.
Okay. If you look at the Maslow's theory of hierarchy, that a man's need is actually one of the topmost is recognition, you know, feeling a sense of belonging. We live in the same society, and then my neighbor is probably a politician and driving all these big cars, and then I was privileged to be in the neighborhood probably because I've worked for years. I got the land long enough, a long time ago, but we're living in the same neighborhood, and then you carry a smooth car, no noise car, and then I start my car and the whole neighborhood is like, oh, he has arrived. I mean, you just feel like, oh, I'm part of the system that brought this person into power, and yet I cannot afford what he has. You know, it's just a human thing. You just want to be at par, and then when you have passion, carry passion about. When hunger hits you hard, the passion flies away. I mean, so it's the quest for need first before passion will come out and then shine.
All right, now we are at the doorstep of a new administration,
Yeah.
you know, and usually the anticipation that those that are coming now will do the right thing. You know, what are those things? If, you know, as an educationist, you know, a lecturer, you know, what is those things you think we should prioritize in education?
The first thing is continuous professional development. Sponsor people to go on trainings. Let them go out there and see how it is done. Sponsor research. Let our system change. If you look at our curriculum, we're still using the curriculum from ages. Let's begin to practice outcome-based education. Let people work with their hands. Let them produce something. Not just to read and come and pass the theory in the exam and go away. And when they get into the field, they cannot translate it to reality. So let's begin to push for programs that will encourage our lecturers to go out there and see what the contemporary practice is.
If you were the president, how would you look for the people that would do the right thing in the education sector?
I would look for people who are already speaking on and engaging the public concerning this. There are people out there talking so loud about this. I would look for them. I would look for people who have access to the knowledge and then these programs, how to access them. I'll look for them. And I'll look for people who can connect outside there with the inside here. They have contacts with all of these educationists, and then they can always bring up programs. I will connect with people who have already brought up even proposals in that line, and who I think have the capacity, or have seen has the capacity to push this.
Are you trying to say you're not going to look for those who help you to become president, and you give them key positions and sectors, you know, just in a way of appreciating them?
Well, you know, those ones that helped me would have already known who I am. They would have known that I would love to align myself more with technocrats than with just nominal people. So I will tell them, you helped me. Do you have a technocrat?
These are the same politicians that brought you to power.
Yes, but you will have to nominate that technocrat that you know that can support them. You don't have to be in the government. The fact that you brought me into the government does not mean you have to be in the government. But I can say, oh, my dear friend, you did this and that. So nominate somebody that you think you'll be so happy to see in the government.
Okay, just because we're running out of time now, do you think it's possible to reduce the number of out-of-school children we have now, and how can that be done, and to eliminate any form of industrial action in our tertiary institutions?
It is very possible. The out-of-school children, what the minimal thing we need is the teachers, the buildings, and I mean there is no much to spend, and I feel that the government can do it. How much are we paying the teachers after all? So why not just employ? And there are other people that even graduates are there's nothing to do. Employ them in mass, and then just bring them to the class, and then train them, equip them in the education line, the theory and practice of education, so that they can know what to do.
How do you make our schools attractive so that Nigerians would love to school here instead of going abroad? And when there's crisis in Ukraine or Sudan, we are having so much headache bringing them back.
Begin to give credence to our certificates. You see somebody that's studied in out there comes back and is paid twice, thrice what the same person around here would do. Begin to give credence to our certificate.
Well,
begin
we
to
haven't
give credence
been
to
able
skills.
to address the dichotomy in our university and polytechnic qualifications. You know, that it's still that difference, and we haven't been able to address that.
And well, you see that the line that we tow in the polytechnic, what you do more is practicals and all of. There are two different lines, and there shouldn't have been even a pronouncement of dichotomy. You should have just said that everybody is on their own right excellent.
But the disparity will come when the graduates from polytechnic and university are looking for a job in the same place, like let's say the banks, for instance, you know, and then they prefer that person that has been to the university, or they pay him even higher. So
that's what we're saying. Begin to address and then address people based on their skills, not on the certificate. Begin to handle them based on what they can do, what they can give you as an organization.
Okay, and then tell me how you think the industrial actions can be put to an end in our tertiary institutions.
The roundtable discussion that we keep having. That
is endless.
That is endless. Let's have a common point. Yes, the government may not be able to solve everything now because it's piled up and built up from administrations from past. But let's come to a standpoint where the lecturers can see that you have shifted ground, and then the government too sees that you lecturers have the passion to go ahead. Let's begin to solve this and move up gradually, and then we will get there. And if you don't even want to solve all of it for them, give them a leeway, little opening for them to do other things apart from the lecturing.
Okay, and when we have this, how would that reflect in our economy or on us as a nation when we get the education sector right?
When we get the education sector right, we will begin to see graduates who will not even depend on who will employ them. They will begin to do things for themselves. Let's begin to train self-reliant graduates, people who before they left school already have what they want to do in their head, you know, not people who are coming out and looking for where they will be employed and retained.
Engineer Deborah Ojeduran is the former head of department civil engineering department of Kogi State, civil engineering department Kogi State Polytechnic, and the VP National Institute for Structural Engineering. We must always thank you for coming to the program. You're always a delight to talk with.
Thank you so much.
All right, viewers, unfortunately that is where we'll draw the curtain for this week's edition of Education Update, and we say that you join us again next week as we still continue to set an agenda. You know, in a couple of weeks we'll have a new administration, you know, and we want to see it as a clean slate where so many things can be done on that. Joshua, I would say thanks for being there, and do have a nice day.